of the 2023 Volunteer Engagement Series. My name is Sydney Shutro, and I am the Director of Volunteer Engagement at the Tennessee Commission on Aging and Disability. I want to thank you all again, as I do every single month because it's so important, for supporting me in this ongoing training opportunity, and for everyone who provides feedback each month to me to continue to improve the series. I encourage you all to reach out to me anytime with suggestions on what you would like to see, and also let me know some takeaways from the series. For anyone new, maybe this is your first session or just a couple sessions in, we have all of our presentations from January 2020 through June 2023 posted on our Tennessee Commission on Aging and Disability YouTube channel. So by the end of the day tomorrow, hopefully today, I'm giving myself at least until tomorrow, I'll have this presentation posted along with a follow-up email with some session resources to everyone who's registered, and thank you, Michael, for providing those resources for us. I want to do my typical disclaimer that these webinars are being recorded, so please be sure to keep information confidential when we're talking about specific volunteers or clients or partners in the community. Also, be sure to put yourself on mute. We want to reduce the background noise for our speaker. Now is also the time to turn off your cameras unless you want your face recorded. Totally up to you. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please type those into the chat box and we'll address them as quickly as we can. For the last few sessions, I've talked about the reactions function that Teams has to give our presenter a bit more feedback throughout the presentation. So let's try that real quick. You should find the reaction button at the top of your screen, close to where you find the people and like you raise your hand and everything. So I want everyone to click that reaction button and pick one of your favorites. So that way I know everybody can do it. I did the heart. There we go. We got applause. Excellent. Oh, a surprise face. Perfect. Thank you so much. It's important to remember that everything we talk about on these webinars is not a requirement for you to implement in your programs. Simply, it's best practices through research and personal experiences. However, if you do like what you hear and you want to implement a suggestion or a strategy, be sure to have the support of your supervisor and management going before you move forward. This is the first session that I can recall having a workbook to go along with it, which I think is extremely creative and it's going to help keep everyone engaged. So if you don't have a copy of your workbook, please get a printed copy, or if you have access to kind of pull it up on your screen. We really want everyone to stay engaged. We're also going to have some poll questions. We haven't had this in a few sessions. So Michael, you really know how to get us going on these sessions. I love it. And we really want the audience to have some participation. So we encourage you to use the polls, use the chat box, anything that you'd like to contribute to the discussion. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the presentation over to our speaker for him to introduce himself and start our very interactive discussion on developing our volunteer program's 30-second introduction. So everyone, please join me with the applause reaction in welcoming Michael Pierce. Michael, thank you so much for taking the time to share this valuable information with our group.
Thank you, Sydney, for having me. My pleasure to share the developing your 30-second introduction for the volunteer and the volunteer engagement program. I am the presenter for today, and I'm with the Northwest Tennessee SHIP and SMP, newly regional program coordinator. And just a little bit about me. I joined SHIP in May of last year, 2022, and after more than 20 years of working in public education and higher education combined, I came back to Tennessee. I was in Florida and I came back to Tennessee. So I started working in SHIP just last year. I do have a double master's in my undergraduate from Morris College, the HBCU of South Carolina. And I previously have served in various roles and capacities, Dean of General Studies for an online education division, as well as Director of Student Services, Manager of Career Readiness, as well as Manager of Retail Sales, have a lot of sales background, as well as leadership and management. And I also did serve in the United States Navy. So I know a little bit about recruiting. So one of the things I want to talk about is first impressions. And you know that first impressions are very lasting impressions. And it's hard to rebrand yourself once you've made that first impression. So it's very important that you get off to a great start with that 30-second introduction. So how many of you think you know what is actually involved in a 30-second presentation? Do you think it's more physical, psychological? And this is a great opportunity for you now, Sydney, to put that poll question up.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, computer's a little slow. All right, let me launch. So when we launch the polls, sometimes it'll be a pop-up on your screen. Most of the time, however, it's going to be a pop-up in the chat box. So please find your chat box, indicate your selection, and hit submit vote for us. And the question is, when you initially meet someone for this first time, what do you usually notice first? Physical appearance, looks, their age, younger, older, gender, male, female, race, cultural background, or other. If it's an other, please feel free to type those into the chat box. We have about, we're getting more responses. Give everybody about 5 more seconds to submit your vote. Oh, we had an extra one: posture, smile, frown, appearance. So an overwhelming majority, 78%, said physical appearance and looks. Gender was second, and then we have their age tied, and other tied for third.
Thank you all for your responses. And I will say we all do it. We all make judgments based on physical appearance, whether it's a positive one or a negative one. So psychology teaches us that we make judgments just by pure attraction. And we look at people for various and different reasons, because sometimes we want to connect with them, sometimes we want to disconnect with them. So we do look at individuals, and we look at them for likability, trustworthiness, and then we will make a decision on whether we're going to engage with them. This is very important when making that first impression, also because you want to make sure that you connect with your audience. And this is all about making connections for recruiting volunteers. So there are several variables that we use with a wide range regarding the first impression. So just to name a few, and we've talked about them: age, race, cultural, language, gender, posture. There's a lot that goes into your posture. So you want to make sure that you are presenting a very positive image for your first impression. And then there are some key elements as well. We need to strive for promptness, appearance, and an upbeat conversation. If you're not upbeat in your conversation, it's going to be very difficult for you to recruit someone or to get their buy-in for a worthy cause, such as volunteering to be a part of the SMP or the SHIP program. If you don't have an upbeat conversation, if you're dry, if you're dragging, if you're down, and if you definitely don't look the part, yeah, you got to look the part. You got to dress it up somewhat so that people will then want to take in that physical appearance. And then when you have a physical appearance, a very sharp image, when I mean sharp, I mean like sharply dressed, they tend to pay attention to you. And so we want to make sure that you keep a smile on your face when interacting, so that would put the people at ease. How many of you try to be perfect in what you do? That's another poll question, Sydney. How many of you try to be perfect?
Okay, yep, that poll question should be in your all's chat box. Oh, there was 50-50 there for a second, but now yes is pulling ahead a little bit. Everybody, a few more seconds. Alrighty, right now you're at a 67% say yes, 33% say no.
Well, you don't have to be perfect. And in fact, when you're perfect or robotic, People tend to think it's scripted, and then they don't trust you. So it's okay not to be perfect. And also, if you make a mistake, laugh at yourself or laugh with those that laugh at you. It puts everyone at ease, and you just tend to take all of the anxiety out of the room if you make a mistake. But you want to make sure that you do it with great class. And Ty says she's working on it, so that's great. But you do want to project with an image with confidence and success. And so make sure that if you're not perfect, it's not something that's done in very poor taste. So when you think of recruiting or recruiting someone for the first impression, make it a lasting one. The way you introduce yourself or the concept will leave a positive or perhaps a negative impression. Therefore, it is extremely important to handle the first impression correctly. As simple as it may sound, when someone asks you to tell me about yourself, that seemed to stump a few people or make trouble for them to find words to really express who they are. This is much like the elevator pitch, if you've ever heard the term. You only have 30 seconds in most cases to give someone that impression or someone that introduction. So do you find it difficult or challenging to answer that question about who you are?
Okay, I've launched the other poll question. Is that correct, Michael?
That is correct.
Okay, awesome. You're giving me great cues, but every now and then I'm like, am I supposed to do it? Okay, so far we have 16 responses. We usually have about 7 more, so I'm going to give everybody just a couple more seconds. There we go. Now we're getting more responses. Right now, 63% say it's not a challenge for them. Then we have don't know how to answer this question is about 25% of the group. Not good with expressing myself is 10%, and then don't like to share personal information is 5%.
Okay, so don't like to share personal information. And you don't have to share personal information when someone asks you to tell me about yourself. Actually, what you should do is talk about your professional self, which is not personal or private information because everyone has a background. You graduated from college, or you went to college, or you went to high school, you graduated high school. So those are really not personal more so than they are professional. So research shows that when you are positive, those around you will be as well. So bring the excellence to light, or show them how to show the positivity in your voice for expression, as well as the energy. So you want to make sure that you have enough energy to sustain the first impression conversation. Which brings us now to the actual hands-on of our workshop. And so that sounds like a simple question of tell me about yourself, or give me some background in developing your 30-second introduction, because you only get one time to make that first impression. And so it's very hard to rebrand once someone has an impression of who you are. So research shows that when you are positive, those around you will be as well. So make it fun, because fun is contagious. I seem to think that I'm a funny person, but most people don't think so. But I think I'm funny anyway. So once you've captured the audience's attention, or the attention of the person that you're introducing yourself, you want to follow some simple steps. First of all, who you are, who you represent, and why would they join your worthy cause? If you can answer this in a statement about yourself in less than 30 seconds, you probably have captured the attention of your audience, or the person whom you're trying to recruit. So who you are leads to a very positive and fun fact about you, and who you are and what you want them to captivate about you, or do you want to watch them become captivated about you in terms of what you share with them. Doesn't have to be anything positive, as I've seen that there are a few that don't like to share personal information, but it could be something that you've achieved and you're very proud of that professionally, and you want to share that. Also, what do you do when you're doing what you do best? That's something that you want to maybe share in your presentation. So this is also to your character. What makes you the best at what you do? And then what do you desire out of life as your body of work? So make a personal goal and make this a personal goal, and why anyone should care should be the mark of capturing that first impression. Now, also, you want to make this as interesting as possible. And here we're going to start with our very first activity. So who are you? Lead with a very positive and fun fact about who you are, and watch them be captivated. So in this workbook, you're going to just write a sentence or two to share about who you are. I've already done this, so I've taken a lot of the guesswork for me, because I did it, but I only did it last night. So I didn't do this like several weeks ago. So it is kind of challenging when you have to sit down and put pen to paper and to develop an answer to this question. So go ahead and take a few minutes, and I want you to write a sentence or two in your workbook, or if it's just want to do it on a sheet of notebook paper or whatever you're writing on, go ahead and answer this question. And when you're finished, go ahead and give a thumbs up so we'll know that we can move on. Let's just take a few minutes to answer this question. Who are you?
We're getting quite a few people in the chat box saying that they're done. I saw a few thumbs up as well.
I'm seeing that as well. Give you just about 30 more seconds. Okay, I'm going to read the response that I wrote, just so you can kind of get the feel of how this works. So I answered the question, who are you? My commitment is to ignite passion into individuals and empower them to help others achieve success. My previous education and leadership experiences have afforded me the opportunity to advocate for others. So that's just my spiel on who I am. And this doesn't have to be perfect on the first try because you have an opportunity to rewrite. Because keep in mind, you want this to be between 30 seconds to 1 minute so for an introduction. Okay, moving on to the second part of the introduction is what do you do when you're doing what you do best? So most people will not start to care until you show them how much you care about what you do. And that's very important as a volunteer. No one wants to be a part of something if you're not enthusiastic about it, or if you're not happy about it, or if you don't enjoy the body of work. So what do you do when you're doing what you do best? Go ahead and take a few minutes and answer that question. And of course, I'll share my response. I'm seeing some wonderful responses in the chat. Hopefully you're documenting these in your workbook because at the end, you're going to put all of these answers to these questions into one paragraph to make an introduction. And I want to see how that works out. Give you about 45 more seconds. Okay, we're now going to listen to my response, and then we're going to take a couple of poll questions. So, what do you do when you are doing what you do best? Once I became involved with Medicare and the State Health Insurance Assistance Program, or Tennessee SHIP, windows of a whole new world were open to me. There were countless beneficiaries whom I have helped to save thousands of dollars each year through one-on-one counseling. And so I want to just now back up for those first two questions and do a poll on those questions to see, check some engagement. So on the poll question number 1,
Okay, the poll should be in your chat box. Are you satisfied with your answer to the question, who are you? Did you lead with a positive and fun fact about yourself? We're at about 60-40, with 60% saying that they're satisfied. We also had a yes in the chat box. Oh, 57-43%. So,
okay. And the second question?
come on, computer, work with me here. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, are you satisfied with your answer? What do you do when you are doing what you do best? Did your passion for what you do show? Percentages are pretty even compared to.
I see that.
Very interesting.
Okay, for the next question, what are your goals and objectives? So here you want to share the big picture to keep them wanting to know more about this very important endeavor that you're recruiting them for. So what is it that you have as a goal? Go ahead and take a few minutes to write your statement. We'll take about 30 more seconds on this one. Oh, I like that. Okay, what are your goals and objectives? So my response, it does not matter if you counsel or simply share valuable resources. No amount of time is too small. Every task is important, and we have 3 levels of volunteers. Training is provided also. So as you can see, these responses don't have to be long. They can be very specific to the role for which you are recruiting. And you want to make the person that you're trying to recruit very comfortable in knowing that they're going to be reassured and that they're going to have support along the way. All right. The next part of the actual statement is what makes you the best at what you do? When you are at your very best, others are intrigued and desire to be a part of what you do. So, what makes you the best at what you do? Okay, let's take a few minutes and answer this question. Let's take 30 more seconds on this. Okay, my response to the question, what makes you the best at what you do? Since I became involved in Tennessee SHIP, I have recruited, trained, and mentored over 30 volunteers. The program continues to grow because of dedicated and concerned citizens just like you. And now we're ready for a couple of poll questions on the last 2 responses that you've worked on. And so we want to look at the question that you answered about your goals and objectives. There you go. It's in your chat box. Love it, love it, love it.
A lot more confidence on this question.
A lot of confidence on that question. Okay. I think people may be still responding or seems to have slowed down a little.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and close that poll and we'll start the second one. Okay, your second poll question should be up. Are you satisfied with your answer to the question, what makes you best at what you do? What is the best part of what you do?
We go ahead first.
I'm loving the continued confidence.
Absolutely. It looks great.
Okay, and I've closed that poll with a 75-25 split.
Okay. And we're moving on to the next question in the series. What do you desire out of life and your body of work? Now, make this a personal, professional goal, and why should anyone care? Okay, another 30 seconds, and then we'll close this question out, and then we'll get feedback, and then we'll move on to pulling it all together for a final draft of your 30-second introduction. I feel like there should be an ah for some of the reactions. very thoughtful and caring. Okay, so I answered that question. My life, my long life submission is to leave this world a little better than when I arrived, helping seniors, the disabled, and those who rely on Medicare, Medicaid, and other state health insurances assures that they are receiving accurate and reliable information. Okay, so now that you have worked on answering the questions in an individual way, you have some excellent sentences that you can now pull together in a paragraph. So make sure that when you pull it together, that it is interesting, fun, and succinct, that they all kind of work together, because these were questions that were answered independently. We want to make sure that now when you put it together, it has a flow and that it is a fluid conversation about who you are and who you represent, because you want to make sure that you uh, leave a positive professional impression, and so that it will be a lasting first impression. But before we look at the final draft, I want to do the final poll question on the question. So Sydney, if you would put that last poll question up, please.
Okay, the poll question should be in your chat box. Are you satisfied with your answer to the question, what do you desire out of life and your body of work? Did your statement show your fulfillment? I'm wavering on my answer on this one because I liked it, but it could use some more work. Okay, give everybody a couple more seconds. You're at 67% said that they're satisfied, 29% need more work, and 5 are unsure how to answer the question.
Okay. So having fluid communication about who you are and what you represent will come across both positive and professional. Practice making it comfortable, but not perfect. Because when you come across as trying to be perfect, people may shy away, feel intimidated, and they may not want to be a part of what you're doing. So know your audience. So the final section here is to create your 30-second introduction, pull all of your sentences together, make a final draft, and then practice this. So go ahead and do that.
Michael, we had a question come into the chat box. What was the first question of the series of questions? She was late getting on.
Okay, I'll put that in the chat. I know that everyone is probably still working to pull that last one together, but I want to make sure that we have enough time for dialogue, conversation, and feedback. So I'm going to go ahead and read my final draft of the 30-second introduction. Now, the thing about the 30-second introduction is the more you practice it, the more proficient you will get. Practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes confident. So continue to work on your 30-second introduction. Even if it's over 30 seconds for the first time you do it, continue to work with it. So here's my final draft, or my first attempt as the final draft for my 30-second introduction. My commitment is to ignite passion into individuals and empower them to help others achieve success. Previous education and leadership experience have afforded me many opportunities to be an advocate for others. Once I got involved with Medicare and the state health insurance program, windows of opportunities opened for me. There were countless beneficiaries whom I have helped to save thousands of dollars each year through one-on-one counseling. It does not matter if you are a counselor or simply share valuable resources. No matter the amount of time, it is not too little or too small. Every task is important, and we have 3 levels of volunteers. Training is provided also. Since I've become involved in Tennessee SHIP, I've recruited, trained, and mentored over 30 volunteers. The program continues to grow because of dedicated and concerned citizens just like you. My lifelong mission is to leave this world a little better than when I arrived, helping seniors, the disabled, and those who rely on Medicare, Medicaid, and other state health insurances assures them that they are receiving accurate and reliable information. Won't you consider being a volunteer and join our team? That is the 30-second introduction. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect the first time, but the more you do it, the more you say it, the more you believe in it, the better it will be when you deliver that first impression. Okay, are there any questions, comments, concerns? How do you feel about it?
I love that you tied an action step in at the end. So I was typing in my little paragraph, and I wasn't thinking about tying it into the mission or join us, come volunteer, which is what you're supposed to do. You're doing the introduction
Right.
about your volunteer program, but it just I don't know why my brain didn't go to make the ask, which is what you do.
Right. So you don't want to leave without asking and getting a commitment. So ask the question at the end, get a commitment from them, because that's why we do this. We want to make sure that we're recruiting volunteers. And if you dress the part, if you're positive, if you share your passion, it will come through and people will be more inclined to join your worthy cause. If you're not interested and if you're not if you don't have compassion about it, then the request won't come across as compassionate or genuine. It will just seem like it's a task that you have to do. Does anyone else want to share their final draft?
Oh, you just had a couple come into the chat box.
Okay. Well, you're welcome to read them.
Joanne or Danae, do you want to take yourself off mute and read your statements? No.
The more you say it out loud, the more confident you will. Said no. The more you say it out loud.
Okay, I can.
Okay.
My own. Can you see me, Sydney?
We can hear you for sure. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Well, I clicked it. I don't know why it's not showing me. But I wrote, my life and body of work has always had the human factor in it. I put God first, and I want to secure the center financially so it will run smoothly even when I'm long gone. We always need volunteers. We know from experience everyone brings something different to the team that benefits everyone, especially the senior community.
Fantastic. I like it.
Thank you.
Like it a lot. Just don't forget to ask for a volunteer at the end.
Yes, I needed to do that.
Don't forget. Yeah, this says, oh, that was so nice of you. But then you never asked them to do anything. So make sure you get that commitment at the end, okay? Does
Yes.
anyone else want to share? I can't believe my shippers don't want to talk.
Ooh, calling out. Love it. Um, so while people are, oh, go ahead. Oh, there's Joanne. Now we can see her. um, real quick, while people are looking to volunteer, just a quick question for you, Michael. At the beginning, as we went through the poll questions, when we were talking about ourselves and what we do, I kind of noticed that we were 50-50 almost in the responses of how people thought that they did. But then when we talked about, um, goals and objectives and what do you do that makes you the best, everyone was more confident. When you've done presentations like this before, have you noticed that it was kind of people waver a little bit on talking about themselves and then really get more enthusiastic about the goals? Kind
That
of the latter two questions.
Yes, that's human nature. People are very reluctant to talk about themselves. And I saw where someone, I think it was you, Sydney, said, it seems like you're bragging. Was that you that said that?
I said that I could relate to it.
Yes. See, and if you don't brag about yourself and the work that you do, why would anyone else? No one knows you better than you and the work that you do. So take the opportunity to talk about yourself a little bit in that you want to convey your passion and what you're excited about because excitement is contagious. And to answer your question, yes, Sydney, this is something that we see all the time. People are very reluctant. They find it very difficult to talk about themselves. That's one of the first questions that you're often asked in an interview. Tell me about yourself. And people find that very difficult to answer. They don't know you. You're seeing them for the first time. You can tell them anything. That's true, of course. You don't want to make up something that's not true, but you can tell them anything about your professional self that you want them to know. Come up with a statement that you're going to remember. I ignite passion in those who I come in contact with so that I can help empower them. That's what I do. And I say it over and over. Therefore, it comes across very genuinely, and it's like confident, and people buy it, and they say, "Wow, that's what he does." It becomes a part of you. So talk about it. You don't have to talk about all of your educational goals or the things that you've accomplished, but if it's something very significant, yeah, you want to share that. Hey, I was once in the military, and I know how military beneficiaries are very you know, restrictive in in letting people in. I know that. But you share that, it's an icebreaker and people will gravitate. People gravitate to people at different levels. So if you have an educational background, educators kind of like go together. Military people, they kind of go together. So if you're a part of a elite group, talk about that because you never know. That may be the draw for someone.
Absolutely. Another thing I took away from your presentation that I never had really thought about before was involving myself in the introduction of the volunteer program. In the past, all I've done is, for SHIP, I talk about our data. For senior centers, I talk about how great, they are. They're central hubs of information. And My Ride is such a great program, and the nutrition services and how volunteers should deliver a meal. I really usually and I'm going to change this, obviously, I'm going to pivot a bit. Instead of talking about the program, talking about why I'm passionate about the program and the impact that it has. So I generally talk about the impact, but I also kind of have to put that first person experience in there when we talk about the program as well. So that's definitely a big takeaway from me from your presentation.
Wonderful. Yes, you are a part of the program. So talk about it from that perspective or from that lens to ensure that they know that you're still connected with it. I'm continuing to mentor volunteers, and I know that you are very people conscious and that you want to help others. Pull them in, like, hey, it's people just like you who are concerned about our seniors, who are concerned about our disabled, who are concerned about those who are on Medicare, Medicaid, and the marketplace insurance. People like you that care about seniors. Won't you join us? I would love to hear it, Steve. Take yourself off mute, though.
I'm sorry, Michael, if you said something to me, I got a little bit distracted there for a
That's
second.
okay. Steve says he'll read his,
Oh,
and
perfect.
I said, yeah, sure, I'd love to hear it,
Okay.
but I think he might be on mute.
Yeah, just got to unmute yourself. Let's see. I don't know if I can unmute him. I'm not able to unmute you, Steve.
How about that? Did that
There
do
you
it?
go. Now we got you.
Yeah. Let me get back to my verbiage. Well, now I can't find the chat. Here we go. Okay. Hello, I'm Steve Thomas, a retired Presbyterian minister who failed retirement, and now I lead a senior citizen center. I enjoy working with people, hearing their stories, and looking for connections. My goal is to reach seniors and invite them to join us in a place of fun, trust, and tolerance. I have passion for my work, the joy of teaching and leading staff, and the satisfaction of seeing community form. I invite you to come and visit us and see what we do. You may be opening a new and exciting door in your life.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Well, Sydney, that concludes my presentation today, and I hope that everyone now has a working document that they can use to help develop their 30-second introduction, and hopefully this will lead to more volunteers joining your worthwhile cause. Thank you so much for your attention and participation.
And thank you so much, Michael. We really appreciate everything. This was one of the most interactive presentations that we've had, which I definitely love and enjoy. Real quick, before I let everybody go, I wanted to make a quick announcement. We are going to be restarting the Certified Volunteer Administrator Study Group. So if anyone is interested in studying for the exam, we will be starting the CVA Study Group July 21st, which is next Friday. At 9 o'clock a.m. Central Time, 10 o'clock Eastern. In the follow-up email that I send out after the presentation, I'll be sure to include that. If you're interested, please shoot me an email or let me know here in the chat, and I can add you to that group. This study group doesn't mean you have to take the exam. It could be you want to join this study group just to see kind of what the exam might look like and see if you want to take it next year. We have 2 people who are going to be sitting for the exam in October, so we're very excited about that, and we kind of just want a good community of people to help support them and encourage them to get their certification. So just drop me a line, let me know, and we will convene that study group next Friday, and it'll be every other Friday. So not every week. We'll have like the 21st, and then the first week of August, I'll send out the calendar. But yeah, we would love for everyone to join. And then also don't forget, we have our next session of the series. I should have this up already. July, or no, not, this is July. Geez Louise, August 10th. And we have a representative from the Red Cross, I believe. Let me pull this up. Oh my goodness. Yes. From the Tennessee region with the Red Cross of Tennessee, who's going to be discussing rural volunteer recruitment. This is a hot topic that a lot of people are interested in. We're going to have Celeste Green, who's with American Red Cross, talk with us August 10th, same time, same place. I hope y'all can join us. And of course, I'll send more information out about that here in a little bit, most likely tomorrow, if not by the end of the day today. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then we'll hang out for a little bit if anybody else has any questions. Thank you so much again, Michael. We appreciate you, and thank you everyone for attending.